Hello and welcome. So today's session is going to be very interesting, and it is going to be a complete practical hands-on, and you can follow along with me. So today we are going to create a complete Selenium Java page object model framework step by step from scratch. So we are going to start from scratch, and we will first check the environment. We will see what tools, what all things we need for the environment setup. That is, we will check if there is Java there, if we have Maven installed, if we have the IDE present. Then we will do the project setup. We will be creating a Maven project, and then we will add the required dependencies, which will include Selenium, testng, selenium-manager, logging, reporting dependencies. And then we will see how we create a page object model framework step by step from scratch. Now do not worry if you do not know what is page object model, what does it mean, how do we implement it. I will tell you how to do it and what exactly it means. And then we will also add testng, which is a testing framework, and then we will do execution using testng, and we will then see how can we do reporting in our framework. And do not worry if you are a complete beginner, do not worry if you have never done automation earlier, if you have never created any framework, if you have never done any coding, any Java. I will tell you step by step from scratch how to do it, and then whenever you have any questions you can always let me know. Okay, so this is what we are going to do today. Let's get started. So first thing, we will check if we have the necessary tools available. So the first step is we will check if we have Java available on the system. So if you are on Windows, you can go to your command line. I'm pressing the Windows key or the command key, and you can search for CMD and hit enter. It will open the command prompt, and here just check Java space hyphen version and hit enter, and it will show you if you have Java setup. It will show you your Java version. In case you do not see this, if you see the command not found or something else, you can then set up Java. In the earlier session we have already discussed how to set up Java. Also, if you want, you can go on my website, that is automationstepbystep.com, and here if you scroll down to the programming section and go to Java, here we have Java. Here you will find all the videos on how to set up Java on Windows, on Mac, and you can check all this. So anyways, we have checked this in the earlier session. Of course, if you are on Mac, you will go to your terminal, so you can press command plus space to open the Spotlight search and type terminal, and this will open the terminal, and again the same command, Java space hyphen version, and hit enter, and it will show you your Java version if it is there. Otherwise you can set it up. Okay, so this Java setup we have already covered in the earlier session. Now then step number 2 is we will check if Maven is installed. Again, this is we have covered earlier. I will just check by running the command mvn space hyphen version, mvn space hyphen version, and hit enter, and if Maven is there, it will show you the Maven version. Okay, so I have Maven set up on this system. Okay, just in case you face any issues with any of these commands, you can check my earlier session where we have covered both of these, setting up Java and setting up Maven. Now the next thing, step number 3, is we need a IDE. So you can use any IDE if you are already using something, otherwise we will go with Eclipse. So here you can just go to your browser, and this also we have covered earlier, setting up of Eclipse, but let me just very quickly show you. You can go to Eclipse download, and it will take you to the Eclipse website where you can go to download and you can get the Eclipse packages. Let me just go to Eclipse packages from here. Okay, so you can see you can get the Eclipse packages. Now here, one thing to note is you will see Eclipse IDE for enterprise Java and web developers. We don't need this, although this will also work, but it is a little bit heavy and we don't need a lot of things. So just go with this one, Eclipse IDE for Java developers, and then you can just download for your operating system. Okay, now also I will tell you one more thing. Let me show you my Eclipse. So I have downloaded my Eclipse here. So this is the Eclipse I am using. This is the one I am using. Okay, and I have extracted it, so you can just extract this folder. So when you go here to the Eclipse download website, you can just click on your operating system and then you can get the zipped file from here, and then you can unzip it or extract it to any location on your system. So this is the one I am using. I have extracted it here in my tools folder. So this is the Eclipse I am using, and here let me first start it and show you. So this is 2024-9 Eclipse I'm using, which is not the latest one. Now we also have 2025 Eclipse, but just in case you face any issues with Eclipse, you can get a earlier release. So how to get it? You can go again to the site here, Eclipse download. Okay, and here you will see a releases link. Okay, releases link. So I am here, eclipse.org downloads packages, and here you can go to releases, and this will take you to this releases page, and here you can select any release. So this is the latest one, 2025 3. What I have selected is this one, 2024 9, and when you click here it will take you again to this page, and again you can go down to Eclipse IDE for Java developers and get the zipped file for your operating system and unzip it. And then when you unzip it, you will see something like this, and then using this application, Eclipse application icon, you can start Eclipse. Okay, so this is starting Eclipse on my system. So I have to select a workspace. So let me just go to my D folder, D, and I have a folder called projects, and I'm going to create a new folder here, and I will call it as, you can name it anything, I will call it as automation, and this is what I will choose as a workspace for Eclipse. So I will click on browse here and go to my projects folder, this folder automation, and launch. Now the steps I'm doing are going to be exactly the same if you are on Mac operating system. So once you have started Eclipse, the things are going to remain same. So you can follow with me all the steps you can follow if you are on Windows or Mac operating system. If you face any issues, you can always let me know. So this is starting up Eclipse. Okay, so Eclipse is started, and I will hide this welcome page and go directly to my workspace. Okay, so let me expand this. Now see, the reason I tried a different Eclipse is I was getting this issue, which even now I am getting it, which is Microsoft Defender exclusion check, and as of now I am going to cancel it. And what was happening in the latest Eclipse that I was using it, when I want to install any plugin, for example, if I go to help and go to Eclipse marketplace, and we will need a plugin for testng later, but let me quickly show you now. So you can search for any plugin here and then click on install. So it was throwing me some certificate issue, some security issue, which was maybe some Java and Eclipse compatibility thing, but this one is working fine, therefore I am using this Eclipse. Okay, so you can also check if there is some compatibility issue, or you can check what is the most compatible Eclipse with the version of Java you are using, or maybe some antivirus. If something is happening, you can always check what is best for you. If you are able to troubleshoot it, that's best. Otherwise you can also change the version of Eclipse. Okay, so until here we are done with our environment setup. We have set up the necessary tools. We have Java, we have Maven, and now we also have Eclipse IDE. Okay, now we are going to create a Maven project in Eclipse. So the first thing is, I will go to file, new, and create a Maven project. So I am going to file, new, and here, in case you get the option for Maven project here, it's good. Otherwise you can always go to other and start searching for Maven, and you will find an option for Maven project here. So select this and say next, and here I will say create a simple project, skip archetype selection. So select this and say next, and here I will give some group ID. I will say, let's say com.test.automation, and artifact ID I will say selenium framework. You can give any name here, and that's it. I will click on finish, and it will create the project. So you can see it has created the project, and it is still in progress. So you can see it is still in progress here. It will create the complete structure of the Maven project, and then I will show you the complete structure. Okay, so this is now done, and now if I expand this, you can see this is our project structure. Okay, so because this is a Maven project, you will see a structure like this. We have src main Java, src test Java packages, src test resources packages, then we have pom.xml. So this is an important file. Pom.xml is a file that you will find in your Maven project, and this is the file where we manage our dependencies. Okay, so otherwise if we are not using a Maven project, we will have to manually add all the jars that we need. For example, selenium, testng, reporting, logging, etc. All these libraries or jar files we will have to manually add. But now, because we are using a Maven project, we just have to go to our pom.xml file and add the dependencies, and it will take care of everything. It will download the necessary libraries and set it up. Everything it will do, and whenever we have to change it, we have to remove it, we just remove the dependency. We have to change the version, we just update the version here. So it becomes very easy to maintain, and the entire process becomes very efficient. So I will show you that in a moment. Let me also go to window preferences, and I will go to general editors and text editors, and I will go to colors and fonts here, and I will go to edit. I want to use a font I like consolas, and let me increase the size as well. This should work. Okay, now this should be fine. All right, so we have created a Maven project. Now we will add the required dependencies in our pom.xml file. So the first thing is we will need selenium-java. So let me just go to Maven repository, and here I will search for selenium-java. Okay, and you can see this is here, and it is coming from org.selenium-hq.selenium. So I'll go here, and you can take the latest one. So you can see this is the latest one. I will take this one. As I click here, you can check here. So you can also include the comment or exclude the comment, and just click here. It will get copied, or you can manually copy it. And in our pom.xml file, we will first create a tag for dependencies. So you can say dependencies, and if you press control space, it should also give you auto suggestion. So let me see, and even if it does not give you, you can then close the tag, and we have got a dependencies open and close tag here. Now we will add all our dependencies here. So I will paste the selenium-java dependency here like this between the dependencies tag, and also you can select everything by saying Control A and then press Control Shift and F key to make the indentation formatted, and then you can save the project. Control S, or you can save from here as well, and this will add the required dependencies in the project. Okay, also after this, after you have saved the project, you will see a Maven dependencies folder here, and if you expand it, you will now see Selenium dependencies are added. So it will take care of all the required Selenium dependencies for your project. Okay, now you can see how easy it will be. Whenever I have to remove the dependency, I will just have to remove this section from here. If I have to update the version, I will just have to update the version here and then just save the project. It will remove the earlier dependencies and add the new ones, and this becomes very easy now. Also, if you find these errors in your pom.xml file, just check if there are any issues, any tag is missing or anything. Otherwise, you can go to your project and do a right click, and you will see we have Maven here. Go to Maven and say update project. Okay, and here you can also, if you can check force update, but I will for now just say okay, and let's see. And if still does not take out these errors, so you can go to your command line. Okay, so go to your command prompt and first go to the location of your project. So you can check the location, you can do a right click on your project, and when you go to properties, you can see this is the location. You can go from here, you can also copy the location or go to the location from here, or just copy the location or copy the path. And on your command line, you will see the command line always open on C drive, but my project is on D drive. So first I will change the drive by saying D colon, and then I will say cd for change directory, and then paste the project path, and now I am on my project path. On Windows, a direct way is you can go to the folder of your project. So this is my project folder, and on this address bar you can just type cmd and hit enter. It will open the command line on the same path. So you can see it has opened it here. So this is a shortcut on Windows. Okay, but for now I will go here. I will go here, and now on my project path I will say mvn. So make sure that you already have the mvn installed. You can check by mvn version and then say mvn minus u clean install. Okay, so it will do a clean install of the project. Okay, so let's wait and let's see if it throws any errors. So it is setting up everything. So this looks fine until now. And yes, so it says build success. Now you can go back to your project and you can just do a right click and refresh it. You can again do a right click and go to Maven and then say update project and say okay, and let it update. And you can also go to project clean. Let me try to do a Maven force update here. So if I try using HTTPS here, this is gone. Yes, so using HTTPS, now all the errors are gone and now we have our clean project ready. All right, so we have added Selenium-Java. Now we also have Selenium-manager dependency, which will manage the browsers. So in case you have worked with Selenium earlier, you will remember that earlier for working with every browser, we had to download the executable file of the browser. For example, if we have to work with Chrome, we have to download the Chrome executable. For Firefox, we have to download the Firefox executable file. And then in our code, we had to give the location of that file, and then we could use the browser for automation testing. But now with Selenium Manager, we can manage all this without having to manually download any executable file for any browser, and we don't have to download and set Selenium Manager separately in case we are using Selenium-Java version 4.6.0 or above. Okay, because it comes inbuilt in Selenium-Java after version 4.6.0. onwards, so we don't have to manually add it. Otherwise, if you're using any Selenium Java version before this version, you can go again to Maven repository and search for selenium-manager, and you will find selenium-manager again from org.selenium-hq.selenium, and you can also add this dependency in your pom.xml, but we don't need it because we are using the later version of selenium-java. Okay, then testng, again I will go and search for testng dependency here, and this is coming from org.testng, and again you can get the latest one, or let me take this one which has the most downloads, copy and just paste it here, and you can press Ctrl A and then Ctrl Shift F to correct the formatting, and then save your project, and you will see all the required libraries will get added to your project and they will be present in Maven dependency. Okay, so you can see testng has also come here. Okay, so we have added testng. Now we will also add log4j and ExtentReports when we have to do logging and reporting, but for now let me not add it because we want to keep our project very light. We will add only the dependencies that we require for now. So when we come to reporting part, when we come to logging part, we will add them. But for now, let us go to next step. We have already done this mvn-u clean install. We have run this command and we have also updated the Maven project. So now we have our project ready. Okay, so this is what we have done until now. We have done the project setup, we have set up the environment, we have checked all the necessary tools, and then we have created a Maven project, added the required libraries, and our project is ready, and we can now create our automation framework. Okay, so here just to give you some details about this command, when we run this command mvn-u clean install, -u is a force flag or option which forces an update of snapshot and dependencies. So all the dependencies of the project will be forcefully updated. Clean means it will delete the target directory. So you will see there is a target directory, and then it will do a it will clean everything and removes any previous builds. So we are doing a clean install, and then install will compile and install the project into the local repository, which is m2. M2 means in your system there will be a .m2 repository where all the Maven dependencies go. So it will do a clean install of all the libraries there. Okay, so this command will do a clean install of your project. All right, so now let us set up the project structure. So you can follow along with me. So we will create the following project structure. So let us say this is our project. So you will see we have all these packages. We have src main Java, we have src test Java, and then src main resources, src test resources. So here what we are going to do is, under the src main Java, we are going to create two packages, base and pages, and we are going to create these classes, base test.java and LoginPage.java. So let me first create these two packages, base and pages, and in a moment I will tell you why we are doing this, because we are going to create a page object model design, and I will explain you what that means and how this structure will help us. For now, let us just create the packages, base and pages. So I will go to src main Java and do a right click and say new and say package. Okay, so I will say I will create base and say finish, and again do a right click and new package, and I will say pages and finish. So we have created these two packages under src main Java. Okay, now you can also create utils. Now utils we can create under resources also, or under src main Java itself. So let me just create it here itself. I will say utils, and we have now created three packages under src main Java. All right, now Under src test Java, we will create a package tests. So this is our src test Java. I will do a right click and say new package, and I will call it as tests and say finish. All right. Okay. Now inside this package, we are going to create a file called LoginTest.java, and I will do this later. As of now, we are just creating the packages, and then we will also create a testng.xml file, which we will need it later. Let me just create it first here. In your project, do a right click, new, and just select file here, and I will call it as testng.xml. Okay, we will use this file later on, but let us just create and keep it here. So we have created this file. Okay, now here you can see we are getting some error. It is saying no grammar constraints for this file. So for that, maybe we can add something. As of now, just let us keep it this way. We will add the actual data later on. Okay, so and again log4j we will add later when we actually do logging, and extend config also we will add later on when we come to reporting, and pom.xml file we already have it. Okay, so this is our project structure now. Under src main Java we have base, pages and utils, and under src test Java we have tests. Okay, so this is our project structure. Now this structure is according to page object model principle. And what is page object model? So if I just go and search for page object model, and if I go to images, so here you can see, let's see this image. Okay, so here you can see, in case you have checked the earlier session, there we were creating everything, all the code and everything in a single class. We were creating the locators, we were creating the test scripts, what to do on the locators, the test statements, everything we were creating in a single class. Okay, so we will have the web element, methods, test methods, locator methods, action methods, test scripts, everything in the same class. But now in a page object model principle or page object model based structure or design, we keep the element locators and the action on the element functions separately in a class, and then in a separate class we keep only the test scripts, that is the actual test steps, and whenever the test scripts have to refer any element or any element action, it will refer from the page class. So what we do is, for every page of the application, let us say let us take any example. Let us say this is a login page. Okay, and for every page of the application we will create a separate class. So you can see here we have created a login page. Under the pages package we have created a class for login page, and in this class we will only keep the locators of that page. So here all the elements, the locators of all the elements that we have to interact during the test, we will keep that separately in this class. For example, the username element locator, the password box element locators, and the login button. So these are the three elements that we have to interact with on this page. So we will keep it separately in the LoginPage.java class in the pages package separately. And then when we actually come to the login test, we will keep that test in the under the test package, and then during this test, whenever it has to interact with the element, it will call the element function from the LoginPage.java. And similarly, for every page of the application that we have to interact with, let us say products page, users page, registration page, we will have a separate class for that page under the pages package. Okay, now the advantage here is, tomorrow if anything changes on this page, let us say the locator of password changes, and this is being used, let us say in 50 tests, we don't have to go to 50 tests and change it. We just have to go to the page class of that page under the pages section and just change it at one location, and everywhere it will be referenced from here. Okay, so this makes the maintainability of the framework very easy, efficient, and in case there are any changes, they are very easy and very fast and very reliable. Okay, now when we actually do the practicals, you will come to know how it works and what is the advantage. For now, let us just take a high level overview. Okay, so in the src main Java, you will find the core framework components like the base test Java, which will have the setup and tear down methods. I will show you how it is done. So before running any test, if you have to do any kind of setup like open the browser or maybe do some settings on the database, and after the test we have to maybe close the browser or clean the database, all these kind of common actions we can keep in our src main Java. We can also keep our pages class here, all the pages class, then any utils like read properties, logging, everything we can keep here. And then in the src test Java, we will have our actual test classes. Okay, and all the configuration files we have like testng.xml, pom.xml, logging, reporting, all these are configuration files. Okay, so this is how our framework structure looks like now. Okay, and as we work on this, you will get more and more clarity how this works and why we are having this structure. But for now, this is a very high level overview. All right, so benefit of this structure is it is modular. Every component is separate. We know if we have to work with any particular element, we will go under the pages package, and for that particular page we will go to that class and check the elements, or we have to do any changes we will do there. It is very maintainable, scalable, reusable. So these are all the advantages of this structure and using a page object model design for our framework. Okay, now let us create a base class. So in our base package, we will create a class base test.java. And before that, let us see what exactly we are going to automate. So there are a lot of demo applications. If you want to use your own application, you can use that. Otherwise, you can go with this. We have this application. This is coming from Test Cafe. We have this application coming from demo application from Catalan. This is Orange HRM, again a demo application. There is also an application try testing this. Again, you can use this demo application, or there is this demo application as well, which where we have a login page. So we will try this one. You can use any application you have, any demo application. So this is what we are going to do. We are going to do a login. We will enter a username, password, and click on the login button. So in page object model design, we will first create a class for this particular page, which is login page, and all these element locators for username, password, and login button we will keep inside that, and even the actions on these elements. Okay, so we are going to first create a base test.java under the base package. Do a right click on the package, new, and class, and I will call it as base test. No need to give any extension, it will take the extension, and click on finish. Okay, so we have got this class. So in Java, in a class, the first thing you will see is the package declaration. If it is inside a package, this should be the very first statement, and then we say public class and the class name with a start tag and a end tag. All right, so this is how we can declare any class in Java. Okay, now here we will initialize the code to handle the browser and do the setup. Okay, so let us see, this is what we will do. We will have the import statements, but before we add the import statements, let us just directly add the WebDriver instance. Okay, so I will say protected. Now these are access modifiers, public, private, protected. So protected means whatever we define here, declare here, can be used within the package or the subclass of this class and not anywhere else. So I will say protected WebDriver driver, and it will throw an error, of course, because we have not yet imported WebDriver from Selenium. So when you click here or just hover over here, it should show us the options, or you can also, if I go here, you can also just click this and see the options. So it is showing us the option import WebDriver from org.openqr.selenium, and of course you should have the library added in your pom.xml file, and it should also already be installed in your project. So I will click this, double click this, and it has added the import statement, and now we don't have any errors. Okay. Next we will create a function. We will create a function called setup. So for creating a function, I will say public void. What means it does not have a return type. For now you can just follow along with me, and I will call the function as setup, and bracket start and close, and a curly bracket start and close. So this creates a function. Okay. Now in this function we want to add the code that should run before a test. So whatever things we want to do before running a test, we have to add the code for that. So let us say we have to start a browser. So I will say driver, which is this driver that we have declared here, driver equals to new Chrome driver. And at this moment, if you press Control space on your keyboard, it should also give you auto suggestion for Chrome driver, which is coming from org.openqa.selenium.chrome.chrome driver. And if I select this, it will also add the import statement automatically. So you can see I double click that, and it has added the import statement also, and I will add a semicolon at the end. So in Java, we add a semicolon at the end of each statement. Okay. So now we have defined the Chrome driver, and now using driver, we can also now say driver dot manage, and then we can do a lot of things. You can see we can add cookies, delete cookies, or I can go to window, and then if I want to get full screen or maximize, I will say this. We can also add weights here. Whatever things we want to do before any test, we can add in this setup method. Now here, sometimes you are dealing with a single application, and in that case you can also say driver dot, you can directly say get to start a application, or give a URL to start. You can directly give it here, or in case if you are dealing with different URLs for each test, you can give this in your test cases as well. But for now I'll just copy this link and give it here. Okay, because this is going to be common starting point for each test, I will just go give it here. Okay, so this will be based on your requirement, your tests, your application, but for now let's do it this way. Okay. All right, so we have created this function. Now this function will not automatically run before a test. We will have to annotate it with a testng annotation, and that annotation is at before method. Okay, so I will say at before, and if you press Control space on your keyboard, again it should show you the options if testng library is already added. Let me see, let me add it, and then I can check. If I hover over this, okay, I will go back to my pom.xml and see the testng dependency. It is already added here, but yeah, the scope is test. I should remove this scope, and then it should work. Okay, let me remove and save my project and go back to base-test.java. And now if I hover over this, it should show me the options, or I can just also say Control space, and yes, you can see it has already taken this from testng. Okay, so now because we have annotated this method with the testng annotation at before method, so now this function will run before any method that is annotated with the testng annotation at test, and we will annotate our test method that we will create in our test package with that annotation at test. Okay, also just in case you want to learn more about testng annotations, you can search for testng annotations, and you should get in the testng documentation. So all these annotations at before method, before switch, after switch, before test, after test, all this you can check here. Okay, and then again similarly we will create a tear down method. So I will say you can create another method, public void tear down. Okay, and here whatever you want to do after a test, let's say close the browser or clean the database, whatever you want to do you can do it here. So here I'm saying if driver is not equals null, that means if driver is still open, if driver not equals null, then we should close or quit the driver. So I will say driver dot quit. Okay, so this is what we are doing here. Okay, again this will not run unless we annotate it with the annotation testng annotation after method. So I will say at the rate. So this annotation you have to give just before the declaration of the function. So just one line above or just above this you have to say after method, and you can press control space and it will auto complete it, and you will also see it will add the import statement automatically. Also one more thing, in Java if you have to manage the imports you can press control plus shift plus O key on your keyboard. So what it will do is if there are any unused imports it will remove them, if there are any imports to be added it will add them. So let me show you. If I say something like, if I add an extra import, let us say I'm saying import org dot openqa dot selenium dot buy. So buy is a class which we will need later on, but not for this particular class. And you can see I have added it, but it is not being used. So when I press control plus shift plus O key on my keyboard, you can see it has gone from here. Okay, so this is a shortcut that you can use. If you're on Mac, you can press command plus shift plus O and that will do the same thing. Alright, so we have added our base test. Now we will go to the pages package and create a class for login page. So we are going to create one class for each page of our application. We will start with the login page. So go to the pages package. Here do a right click and right click new class, and I will call it as login page and say finish. Okay, now here we will add the code for finding the locators for all the elements that we have to use on this page during testing, and also the action on those elements. So we have three elements here. This is username or email box, password box, and login button. Alright, so here in this class, don't worry about the import, they will get imported as we add our statements. So first I will create a WebDriver which I will make it as private because I don't want it to be used anywhere else. Private WebDriver driver, and again if I hover over here WebDriver, it is giving me the options. Do you want to import this from org.openqa.selenium? Yes, I will click there and it will add the import statement. Okay, now whenever you see this yellow line or you see this warning sign, that means this variable has been declared but never used in this script. So that is the reason, otherwise that's fine, it's not an error. Okay, so just save your project, and then I will now keep on adding the locators for all the elements that I have to use. So, and you can see all these are class variables. I am not adding these inside a function. That means these are not function variables, but I'm adding it directly within the class. So all these will be class variables. Okay, so now I will say private. So access modifier private means I will be able to use this whatever I declare here only within this class. Okay, and then I will use by. By is again a class from Selenium library. You can hover over it, and for now I will just say by username text box. So you can give some meaningful names that will help people to identify or understand what does it mean. This is a username text box, and here I have to give a locator. So I can say by dot, and we have a lot of options: class, class name, CSS selector, ID, etc. So let me see. I will do a right click here on this element and say inspect, and here I can check if it has ID, and yes, it has ID called email. You can also do a right click here and say copy, copy selector or copy XPath, etc. But I directly have a ID available, so I will copy the ID and I will say by.id and give the value of the ID, which is email. Okay, and you can see it has also imported the by class of Selenium here. Okay, similarly I will say private by password text box equals. Now again I will check for password. I can also click this and select password, and for password also we have ID available, so I will copy this and again I can say by.id and give the value of ID within double quotes and save. Then I will say in the next line private by, I will say login button equals, and for login button let me check what we have. So this is login button, and here we don't have ID, so let me just do a right click here and say copy. I will say copy XPath, and then I will here say by.xpath and give the location, give the XPath within the quotes, and at the end give a semicolon. Okay, so this is how you can keep on adding locators for all the elements on that particular page. Now here you can also check. If you go to Selenium documentation, this is selenium.dev, the official Selenium website, and when you go to documentation here and you go to WebDriver and you go to elements and go to locators, you can see all the locators that you can use. You can also see how do you create the locators. Okay, and class name, CSS selector, everything. You can see examples in all the languages here. Okay, and then you can also find locators by link text or partial link text as well. Okay, tag name is also there, XPath is there, and then how to use the locators, you can check all the code. Then we also have relative locators. For example, if you cannot find a good locator, or if the locator is not stable for that particular element, you can find the neighbors and say it should be above this particular locator, or this element, below this element, left of this element, right of this element, near this element, and you can also see the chaining relative locators. I believe I have created a video on this earlier. uh, Let me check. This was something I created for this, maybe in my earlier playlists. If I go to Selenium 4 with Java, maybe here. Okay. Uh, yes, you can see relative locators. I had created this earlier, relative locators. This you can check. Then weights is also here, keyboard actions is here, web elements is here, and then I have also created one video for I think XPath, maybe for in the very early Selenium for beginners or Selenium-Java. You can find it somewhere. Okay, let me search for XPath, maybe here. Yes, you can see how to create XPaths. This video can also be very useful if you are a complete beginner and want to learn how to create XPaths for automation. You can check this. Okay. So this is how you will keep on adding the locators for the elements you have to use in that particular page. Okay. And then we will create, we will say, we are going to create a constructor. Now, what is a constructor? A constructor is a function in a class with the same name as the class name. For example, you can see this is the class name login page. So I'm going to create a function by the same name. I will say public login page and bracket start close and a curly bracket start close. So this is a constructor of this class. So it does not have any return type. So you can see I do not have void or any return type here. The name is the same as the class name, and the reason of creating a constructor is whenever an object is created for this class. Now don't worry about object creation and all. I will show you this later, but for now just remember, whenever an object is created for this class, always the constructor is called by default. So in case we want to force a user that whenever you create an object of this class, you have to pass something as an argument, we can create a constructor and then add an argument here. So for example, here we want a WebDriver instance. So I can say WebDriver driver. So whenever an object will be created of the login page class, it will force the user to pass a WebDriver instance. And the reason is whatever instance will be passed, we will say this.driver. So when we say this.driver, that means we are referring to the class driver, which is this one, equals to the driver that comes in the argument or parameter of this constructor function that will be passed to this, and it will be made equal to this driver of the class, so that whatever next actions we do will be done by this driver. Okay, so then we will be adding the action functions, that is the action on these elements, username, password and login button. So here I will say, let us see, the first function is, I will say public void enter username. Okay, so this is a function. So as I told you, in a page object model, we have a separate class for each page, and in that page we have the element locators of the elements of that page, and also the action on that elements functions are added in that page class. So enter username, let me double click and expand this full screen. Then we will have another function, public void enter password, and then another function, public void click login. Okay, so these are the three functions we have to do on these three elements. Okay, so for enter username, I can say driver.find element and whatever name we have given to this locator, and then send keys. So I will say driver.find element, and you will now understand why we have used the constructor, so that whatever instance of the driver is used in the test, the same will be passed here in this constructor, and then the same will be continued here when we are finding the elements. Okay, so if we are saying driver.find element, and I will say username, you can press control space, it should auto complete or give you suggestion. So this is the one we are using, and then I will say dot send keys, and here now see, here we can give the username, but that will not be right because we will be hard coding it, and this should come from the function which is calling this function, or from the class which is calling this function, which means the test class or the test function. So here we will take the argument from that class as string, let us say string username, and the same thing we will pass here, username. Okay, now you will understand this in a moment when we create the test class. As of now we have not created the test class. So from the test class, this will be passed. Whenever enter username will be passed, it will ask for a username, we will pass it from there, and that will be used here to enter username in this username text box. Similarly, here in the password, I will take it from as an argument. I can give any name here, and then here I will say driver dot find element. This is password text box dot send keys, and whatever is coming as an argument will be passed here. Now sometimes you can see in our application, if you see here, let me close this, and if I refresh this, you can see an email and password is already added. So we don't want to append, we want to clear this and then add our own email and password or username and password. So first we want to clear it, so you can also first clear it. So you can just use the same thing here and then say dot clear. So it will clear it and then add the username, and similarly I will do the same thing here. I will first say clear and then I will add the password, and now the login button. So here we have to use a click action. So I will say driver dot find element login button dot, it should go here, dot click. Okay, now see, because we have already used by here, we do not have to say find element dot by anything, because we have already used everything here. We can directly just say driver dot find element, give the name here that we have already mentioned and declared here, and then the actions. Okay, so this is our login page class. You can check this is according to page object model. For every page of our application, we create a class, and in that class we first declare all the locators of the elements that we have to use during the test, and then all the action functions on those elements are also added in the same class. Now this depends on you, your project, your application, that do you want to keep one separate class for every page. Generally this is what we do in page object model, one separate class for every page. But let's say you have, let's say, many pages, hundreds of pages, and you want to create groups that all the login related elements should go in this particular page class. It can deal with 2 or 3 screens. That is according to you, according to your project, according to your needs. If you want to keep one class for maybe 2 or 3 screens or 2 or 3 pages, based on your requirement, based on the groups or categories that you have in your application, that's all fine. But this is what we normally do in page object model. Okay, so we have created the login page class under the pages package. Okay, so this is what we have already done. Okay, so this is done. Now step number 2 is we will go to the tests package, and now we will create the class LoginTest.java there. So I will go to the tests package here, do a right click, new, and class, and I will call it as LoginTest and finish. Okay, now this is where we will create our actual test, and here it will only be test scripts. We are not going to find any locators, we are not going to do any setup, any tear down, only pure test scripts here. Okay, so here we will first say, so here the first thing is we will extend this from the base test. So we will say extends base test, and you can also hover here and you can see it is asking us to import, so you can do it like this. So it is extended from base test. Now here we are saying that login test is extended base test, or it is inheriting from base test. So base test becomes parent and login test becomes child here. So this is Java inheritance. Just in case you are keen to learn more, you can go and check my Java tutorials, I will see if we have inheritance there. Somewhere I will have it, but for now let us very quickly see. This is inheritance in Java. Now this means that I can directly use all the functions and variable of base test class, so I don't have to import or do not have to declare anything. I can directly use it because now we are doing inheritance. All that is there in base test is now inherited in login test. This is what it simply means. Okay, so now I will create a test function. So I will say public void test valid login. So they can be multiple functions: test invalid login, test with incorrect username, password, all that, but I'm just creating a simple function, test valid login. Okay, so this function is created. Now here I will say I have to create a object of the login page class, and now you will see the use of constructor that we created in login page. In the login page class we created this constructor that, and I told you that whenever we will create an object of this class, it will force the user to pass the WebDriver instance as an argument. So let us see how this works. I'm going to create a object of login page class. For that I will say login page and give any variable name. Let us say login page equals new login page. You can press Control space and it should also give you auto suggestion, and you can see it has directly taken the driver instance. Even if I remove this, you will see it is throwing an error, and if I hover over here, you will see the constructor login page is undefined, add argument to match this login page WebDriver. So that is why we have to pass this driver, and this driver is coming from base test. You can press Control on your keyboard and hover over this base test and click here, and you can see this is the driver that we defined here. And the reason we are able to use it directly in our login test without importing, without creating any object or anything, is because everything in the base test is now inherited in the login test, because we are saying login test extends base test. So this driver is coming from base test directly into login test, and through this object creation for the login page, it is now being passed in the login page. So when here we will say driver.find element, driver.find element, or anything we will do, it is this driver that we have declared in our base test. Okay, now don't worry, as you will work more and more, you will understand all these concepts. Okay, now we have created the object of this. Now we can do our actual test scripts. So I will say, using this variable or this object login page, I can say login page dot enter username. Now you can see it is able to find all the functions of the login page class because we have created the object. So using this object we can now access all these functions and variable of login page. So I will say enter username, and you will see it is asking for a string argument, and the reason is this enter username here is taking a string argument. Okay, also you can just press Control on your keyboard and hover over this function name. It will turn into a link, and when you click, it will directly take you to the declaration of this function wherever it is declared and defined. Okay, so this is the shortcut. So now here I will have to pass the username. So the username we have to pass is this one. So I'll copy this and add it here. So now you can see the actual data is being passed from the test scripts and not hard coded in the page class. Then I will say login page dot enter password, and the password is admin, and then I will say login page dot, and I will say click login. Here we don't have to pass anything, and you can save your project. Okay, now we can also add assert statements, but for now I will just check what is the title. I will say driver dot get title, and if I have to print it on console, I will say syso and press control space bar, so it will auto complete the print command system.out.println, and here I will say title of the page is, and then I will say plus, and just add this driver.getTitle here, so it will just print it on the console, and then we will add the assert statement later on. Okay, so that's it. We have added our test class as well. Okay, now next is we have to add testng plugin to Eclipse, because now this is a testng test. We have added all these annotations. One more thing that I forgot is, in this test function you should add the annotation @test. Okay, and this is coming from testng, and only after you add this annotation, the earlier function that we have added in the base test, that is before method and after method, will work, because this will work only for a test function. The function which is annotated with the annotation @test, it will run before that function, and this will run after that function. Okay, so that was one thing that you have to take care, it should be annotated properly. Okay, now you can see, if I have to run this test, if I do a right click here, this is a testng test, and to run it I should have the configurations available. So if I I will have to do a right click here and say run as. You can see we don't have any configurations, and we don't have a main method explicitly added, so we cannot run it as a Java application as we have seen in the earlier session. So I should need a testng configuration, and that will come by adding the testng plugin. So you can do that in two ways. You can go to help, and then you can go to install new software, and here you can give the URL for testng, and that you can get from the testng website as well. So you can say testng Eclipse plugin. So maybe this should show you. Okay, so you can see here, this is how you can add it. Okay, or check here, or you can go here and just click on this, follow the instructions to install the plugin, and here it will show you this update for release site. So you can use this. You can see all the steps I mentioned here. Go to help, install new software, and in the work with field you can add this. Okay, and say add. You can name testng and say add. So this will add, and then you will have to restart Eclipse. Okay, so you can see testng has come here, so you can select everything and say next. You can also directly get it from the Eclipse marketplace, which I will show you in a moment. I will show you both the ways. You can use any of these. So as of now we are using install new software way. Okay, now I will say next, and you can read and accept this, and then say finish. So it will install the plugin, and then it will ask you to restart Eclipse. So again you can check this authority and trust it. Okay, let me do it and check. So based on the size and internet connection, it can take some time, and now it is done, and I will restart Eclipse, and then we should have the testng plugin added to Eclipse. So Eclipse is getting restarted. Okay, so now if I now go to my LoginTest.java class, and you will also see now we have got these options, run, debug. So all this is coming from the testng plugin. So now I can directly click here to run and debug. Also, if I do a right click on this LoginTest.java and say run as, I am getting this option for testng test. Okay, the other way of adding the Eclipse, the testng plugin on Eclipse is you can go to help and go to Eclipse marketplace, and here you can just search for testng and hit enter, and you will see this option and you can directly click on install. In my case it is now already installed, so I am getting this installed option. Otherwise you will see install here, and you can use this option also to directly get testng plugin. Okay, so now I have got the plugin, and now I can go to my command prompt and go to the location of the project folder. So I'm already here, and I can say ambient test or ambient clean test, or if I do not have testng, still I can run this ambient test from here. But now because I have a testng plugin, I can run it from here. So I can click on run here, or I can also do a right click and say run as testng test. So let's see what happens now. So it should start our test, and first it should open a Chrome browser, maximize it. So let's see, this is the first run we are doing. Yes, it opened the Chrome browser, maximized it, and it added username, password, and it was very fast because we had just have these 3 steps. So I will run it again, and what I will do is I will go to my base test.java, and I'm going to comment out this part, driver.quit. I will press Ctrl and / to comment this, and now you can also see in the console we are getting all these options. Title of the page is just a moment. Okay, I will copy this, and past, fail, everything we are getting here. So I will also just go to my test class, and I will say here, what we were discussing earlier, the assert statement, assert equals. So I will say assert equals, and here I will say driver.get title, and I want to check if this is equals to this just a moment. Okay, and also I have removed the driver.quit statement from base test, so it will keep the browser still open. Okay, so now I will run again. I can click on this run button as well. It should run the test. So it opens the browser, maximizes it, goes to the applications, and yes, so you can see now it is not closing, and the reason it is the title is just a moment because we are getting this authorization page, which is fine for now. This is a demo application, and I will check my console, and you can see everything is passed. That means our assertion has also passed, and also you can see result of running method on this testng tab. We also get a testng tab here, and now you can see we can see the details as well here. Okay, if there is any error, you can also see the errors here. So you can see if I go here, it is taking us, showing us all the summary, field test, everything. So you can check here, summary here, failed test, all tests, everything is coming here. And here if I go to the test output and see this report, we have got index.html. I can open with, let us say, system editor, which is a Chrome browser, and you can see the report here. So one test, which is this, and all these methods are here. Okay, so you can check this report is here. You can switch here. So this is how the retro theme looks like. This is how the ultra theme looks like. Okay, you can check here. And I can also go back and you can check we have got this emailable report as well. If I open this in a browser, I will say open with, so system editor means your default browser, or you can also say default editor. So here you can see this is the emailable report. So default test, this is the report we are getting. These are all test engine generated reports. Okay, let us also check. If I go to my command line and I am already on my framework project folder, and if I say mvn test and hit enter, it should again run the test that we have annotated with our testng annotation at test. Okay, so it is now starting the test, which is our login test, and opens the browser, maximizes it, and yes, this is done. If I check here, you can see everything is fine. Okay, it is running fine. Okay, so we have done this. We have also checked the testng reports. Now we can run using testng.xml file as well. So testng.xml is a configuration file where we can define how our tests should be grouped, what should be run, what will be the groups, what will be the suite, etc. So let us create a testng.xml file. We had already created one initially. So this is the file that we already created, testng.xml, and this gets created directly under your project folder. So you can go to your project folder and do a right click, say new and file, and then give the name testng.xml in the file name. So it will get created here, testng.xml, and here we will say we will add this. So we can add the suite name, then the test name, then the classes that will run as part of this test. So we can add multiple classes here, we can also add multiple suites here. So this is how we will do it. So let us try this. We will say suite, and then we will say name equals login tests. You can give any name here. Okay, then we will say test, then again we will say name equals, you can say login tests, and here we can say suite name is login suite. Okay, and it will auto complete the close tag, and then we will say classes. So what are the classes we have to run? Start tag and end tag, and between this we will give the class name. So we will say class, and then name equals, here we have to give the package name and class name. So we will say tests dot, so you can see here we have tests and the class name is login test. So we will say login test. Okay, so this is how we will give it, and you can give it like this, or just give a slash at the end. This will also work. It should be class here. Okay, and you can select everything, Control A, and then Control Shift and F key to correct the indentation and formatting. Okay, so this is how our testng.xml looks like. Okay, so let us now run this class. So now we can directly run this class. So I will do a right click here, and we should get an option to run as testng suite. So let's see what happens now. So let's see if it is able to run. Yes, it is running our test, and it is done. And if I now go back and I will refresh the project, and now if I check these reports, so you can see all these reports are here, and we can also see here these reports are here: login suite, LoginTest.xml, LoginTest.html and XML. So I will open it with browser. So you can see here we have all these details here. Alright, and here you can also check if you run using MV and test, you should also see this target folder and surefire reports, and you can check these reports here as well. So if I open it with, let's say, web browser, you can see this here, and we also get all these Maven reports, JUnit reports are here. If you want JUnit reports, all these reports you will find here. Okay, so if we add a separate reporting library like ExtentReports, we will get more HTML reports and more options that we will see later. But if you are running with testng, this is how you can also check the reports. Okay, so this is how we can use testng.xml file, and using now testng.xml file, you can create as many groups, suites, or whatever categories you want to use. I believe I had created a detailed video on this in my very early playlists. I think it must be here or here. Yes, you can see in this playlist, which is Selenium-Java framework for beginners, this is what is testng.xml, how to create it, and all these details I have given in this video also. Just in case you want to know more, you can check this one. Alright, so we have already run with ambient test, we have checked this, and testng reports we have checked. Now after this, if you want to try and learn more, there are these two links from official Selenium documentation on elements and interactions. So if you go to the official Selenium documentation, which is let me show you, selenium.dev, and when you go to documentation here, so here this is our documentation page. Here if you go to WebDriver and you go to elements, here you can see all these options: file upload, locators. Locators will be very handy if you are a beginner. Please check this, what are the different locators we can use, how to find the locators, the different strategies we can use. Okay, so please try this. We have also all the codes as well here, everything is here, and examples are here. And then you will see these interactions. Okay, so interaction, you can check navigation, so what all code we use for navigating to a website, driver.get, driver.navigate to, then going back on the browser, going forward, navigating forward, back, refresh, all these options. Alerts, if you have to deal with alerts, cookies, frames, all these options, windows, all this you can check here. Okay, so this will be very handy for you, so try this. And in the coming session we will also see how to work with reports and logs. So I hope this was very useful. If you have any questions, you can let me know. I will see you in the next session. Thank you for watching, and never stop learning.